The budget SV08 toolchanger is back, and I'm pretty sure the hardware is done. In this installment, we are crossing off a lot of items. In this series, we are collaborating with DraftShift to convert this budget Sovol SV08 Voron clone into a tool changer. The full playlist is linked below. There has been a gap since the last part of the series, but finally we are getting close. There's lots to cover, but first some community innovation. First up is this Core XY design by viewer Maddie. This is a hot end changer, which means the extruder stays in place and only the hot end and nozzle is swapped. There's a custom mechanism on the back to facilitate this, and Maddie's design has 6 different hot ends that it can switch between on a single print. The printer runs Clipper, and I would say the results are pretty good, at least as good as my Prusa XL. I think this design is pretty slick, it's got auto calibration and other clever things, it will be sold as a kit, so check out the link for more details. The next project I'd like to feature comes from my patron Dave Wood. This one is another SV08 build, but it's absolutely crazy in a fantastic way. Currently, it's a double gantry IDEX, but the aim is to further develop this so it's a tool changer as well and has up to 8 heads. As you can see, the ambitious goal has been realized of offering parallel printing for speeding everything up. That means multiple tool heads printing at the same time with different colors and filaments. This one is running on Duet electronics and has a custom post-processor built to avoid head collisions. Again, this is super impressive, so please follow the link to check it out and subscribe. Let's cover our new progress, starting with tying up many loose ends. In part 4, I showed you the building and assembly of this modular dock designed by Justin from the StealthChanger team. It was pretty close at the time, but some of the clearance needed a little tweaking, and there was also an aim to increase rigidity. After some back and forth between myself and Justin, sharing the intricate details of the fitment, he completed a quite significant redesign, improving things greatly with the addition of these side brackets. This meant a bunch of reprinting and reassembly, so it seems a good time to thank my filament sponsor X3D. These new side brackets attach to the frame in an additional spot, adding rigidity, and the links between it and the dock are modular to suit various configurations. There's also these new adjustable spacer links on the underside, which when used in conjunction with a few of these 7mm spacing jigs, means the dock is assembled as close as possible to perfectly square and straight. That means the idle tools are held in a better position, and that should mean more reliable operation. Next, an update to the tool head wiring, which I've done a few times and have settled on this chunky boy where 3 of the wires are a bit thicker than they need to be, with the result of that being that when the wires are in place, they foul on the inside of the fan, and that makes it hard to get the magnetic cover back on and into place. So for this video, I finally got around to doing a plug swap which I had planned earlier. On paper, this one is very simple. The plugs for USB as well as power get moved from the front of the toolhead PCB to the rear. This is optional but does make things more streamlined, so here's how to do it. The first thing we need to do is to remove the original plastic connector housings, which can be done with a combination of pulling with pliers and prying off with something thin. We now want to heat up the solder at the base of the original pins and using some pliers pull them free. If there's any solder still left in the holes, a solder sucker or some braid is your friend. Ideally at this point you'll have a packet of various JST connectors. It's just a matter of selecting some new ones to go back into the board. Note that when we insert them on the rear side, we need to invert them from top to bottom in terms of the cutouts. Doing this will ensure that the wires in our already made loom are still correct and plug into the correct pin. Here's an upgraded diagram for the correct wires when the plugs are moved to the reverse of the toolhead PCB. Of course, if you don't have new connectors to solder on, it is possible to recycle the original pins by pushing them back through from the rear side and then squeezing back on the original plastic housing. However, the result won't be anywhere near as clean, and there's a good chance you're going to have a gap between the connector housing and the PCB. Whichever technique that you use, it makes a lot of sense to use a multimeter to check for shorts between the pins on each plug. Again, this is optional, but it will make putting on the covers much easier, and I was glad to have finally done this modification. And finally, in part 5, the main subject was designing and assembling this modular spool holder. At the time, I decided to mount it on the front for the easiest access to the spools. but that's the opposite side to the umbilical, so holding the PTFE tube was quite difficult. So I took some measurements and modelled a similar version that mounts at the back of the machine, or off the back to be more precise. Like the original front version, this one fits snugly to the frame, clipping into place, with the brackets being further secured using the M3 bores in the existing frame, and then the modular spool rack sits into position and is held by T-nuts as well as normal bolts. There's still plenty of room to take off the magnetic lid to access the bird's nest, and there's just enough clearance at the front for umbilicals. I'm still working out the ideal length for the PTFE tube, but I'm happy with how it's heading. Now to the main event, adapting the coupling mechanism to the SV08. For a 3D printer to be a tool changer, we need an effective coupling mechanism for picking up and stowing each tool. Here is a preview of the components used for the StealthChanger. On the left we have a shuttle, that's the side that attaches to the printer, and on the right we have a backplate that attaches to each tool. As you can see, a combination of pins, bushing and magnets is used to align and then hold the two halves together. On the top we have a tap sensor, which is an optical end stop, and this printed part will trigger it, that way the printer knows when a particular tool has been picked up. As the StealthChanger is based on the tap changer, this is a proven design by this stage. There's a wiki page on the StealthChanger GitHub that has a bill of materials with all of the exact nuts and bolts that you'll need, and at the bottom of that page are some links to buy the bushing, pin and magnets. As for the tap sensor, I went for this mellow version because it's tolerant from 5 volts all the way up to 24 volts, which should make it easier to fit to the SV08. As for quantities, here's a simpler version in terms of magnets, bushing, pins and tap sensors. As you can see, I got way more than I needed, but most of these components are dirt cheap, and I'm happy to have spare sitting around for future projects. Let's talk about design changes to suit the SV08, and this backplate was done by the Draft Shift guys, and the first time I printed it, it was an excellent match for the SV08 toolheads. The only changes I had to make were pushing these two surfaces back 2.2 mils to clear modifications I made on the shuttle part. This one prints without any support. As for the shuttle, the original design did need some modifications to suit the SV08. Seen here in orange is the shuttle keeper. It gets sandwiched between the bearing block and the shuttle, and its job is to attach the belts. For reference, the standard SV08 shuttle is sheet metal with 2 injection molded belt holders bolted from the sides as you see here. I originally tried to modify the shuttle keeper by making it as wide as possible, but the belts just wouldn't reach. And remember, the aim of this build is for as simple and cheap as possible, so we don't want to be changing all of the Core XY belts unless we absolutely have to. And we don't if we take the right approach, which is merging old and new together. Here is the final design, and the first thing to notice is that we've retained the original injection molded belt grippers. They bolt onto the side, and their width is set up to be exactly what it was with the original metal bracket. The other thing you'll notice is these wings on the side. Again, they match the original metal bracket, and they're used for the sensorless homing. On the rear, I merged the center of the original keeper to match the bearing block, and added these square nut traps and bores to accommodate an M3 bolt to hold on those injection molded belt holders. Both the parts need high infill and perimeters for strength, but this one needs some patent support as you see here. I'd also recommend lowering the layer height slightly to help the hexagon holes for the bushings print more cleanly. Apart from that, this one is pretty straightforward. We can now move on to assembly, and we have for reference an excellent PDF found on the StealthChanger GitHub that goes through all of the hardware as well as step by step for the correct order to assemble. Some things will be slightly different however for the SV08. Once printed, the backing plates will need 4 threaded inserts melted in, so for me that was a total of 24. Each backing plate needs 2 bolts inserted to interface with the magnets on the shuttle. These should be M3 by 6mm and countersunk. These will cut their own threads, and please double check that the magnets are attracted to them. Next we're going to install the 3 pins. When looking from the top, you'll see 3 holes where an M3 by 12mm bolt will go through to retain the pins. Screw them in most of the way and then introduce the pin. The thread should catch, and as you continue screwing, the pin will be pulled up and into position. Access to this center one is a bit tricky. I'd recommend installing it the whole way in, even if it feels like the tool is crooked, and once it's there, screw on the pin by hand as far as you can. Eventually, you'll need to finish torquing with a small Allen key. It's a bit fiddly but entirely doable. Once they're all in, you'll note that the bottom center pin protrudes a little more than the upper side pins. Finally, we've got a bore left to install 1 magnet, and the north and south poles on my magnets are marked. I'd recommend doing this if needed, as correct orientation will be essential. Add a dab of super glue to the inside of the bore and press the magnet into position, ensuring that it's flush. As you'll see here, I decided to have my north pole facing outwards for this magnet. Repeat this process for every tool head backing plate. We're now going to pre-assemble the shuttle, and fortunately there's only one this time. Optional but recommended are two bores where we can insert a long M3x40mm bolt to aid rigidity. These will cut their own thread as they go in and not stick out at all when done. We're now going to insert the 3 bushings, and you want to get a pin and test that operation is smooth with nothing catching. Once you've located 3 good bushings, the 3 hex cutouts are where they're simply going to push in. Assuming your print is clean and your hexagons are accurate, this should go in with a minimum of fuss. Like we did with the magnets, we're going to press down to ensure they're sitting flush. There's 3 cutouts where we now need to install magnets with the opposite polarity to what we did on the shuttles, and for me that means south side facing out. Again, we add a small dab of super glue to each of the holes, push the magnets into position, and use something flat to ensure each of them is pushed flush with the surface. That's everything we need to add for now, so let's get the shuttle and a backplate and test that they couple together smoothly. In my case, as soon as I aligned the pins and let go, the magnets pulled the 2 halves together and everything was very smooth and precise. Now is a good time to install the M3 square nuts into the bores in the back of the shuttle, and there will be a tight fit, so we'll probably need pressing in with something flat and strong. When all 4 are in, they should sit just beneath that surface. Let's get the rest of our small printed parts that came with the backplate and install these onto the back of the tools. We're going to start by removing the cover and unplugging the part cooling fan, and we also need to remove this manual extruder stepper motor wheel from the back. It should be pretty obvious where each backplate will align. They'll be almost touching the bottom of the stepper motor, and the 4 threaded inserts should align with holes already in the tool. For 3 of these, we simply use an M3x12mm bolt to attach the 2 sub-assemblies to each other. You want them as tight as possible without pulling out the threaded inserts. The 4th one near the tool head plugs is slightly trickier, and that's where we introduce this component with the bump in the middle and the filleted edges. It's probably easiest to unplug the tool head wiring to temporarily move it out of the way, and then we use another M3x12mm bolt, but this time with an added washer. It's going to go through the hole left between the small printed part and the tool before being torqued up, adding to the strength of the junction. Obviously, you should plug back in your tool head wiring before you forget. On the back, we need to install our tap sensor with the PCB pointing up, as you can see here, except for me, the contacts on the underside were slightly too long and touching the back of the stepper motor. The solution for this was twofold. Firstly, I trimmed down the leads, and secondly, I used some M3 washers as spacers in conjunction with M3x6mm bolts that hold the tap sensor on. With this combination, I can see around a millimeter of daylight between the two. Potentially from this point, you're just about done, and all you need to do is snap back on the magnetic cover. But right from the start for me, I found it very difficult to get this cover to seat itself properly. To combat this, the StealthChanger team have a very clever solution, and that's these optional but recommended cowl locks for each side. Each will need a threaded insert melted into the bottom, and they are a tight fit, so I use vice grips to get them to lock into position. Each then has an M3x10mm bolt that can be tensioned as needed to pull everything tightly together. And for me, this finally gave me the confidence that these covers were no longer going to fall off as they were stowed in the tool rack. That should be everything prepped and ready to go on the machine, and it doesn't hurt to check each tool one after each other to make sure the coupling interaction is smooth and reliable. Back on the machine, we can swap out the original metal plate for our new shuttle, and there's 4 M3 bolts holding this metal plate to the bearing block. We now need to detension the Core XY belts by firstly loosening the locking screws on the side of the tensioner and then turning the bolt in the center as far as it will go to remove all tension. Obviously you'll need to do this for the left and right sides. The belts will now be floppy, and we can undo the M3 bolts holding the belt grabbers to the metal bracket. But once each side is separated, don't remove the belts. Their starting position is fine for our new assembly. Our new shuttle is now going to slot over the bearing block, and it will be a tight fit, so get it aligned carefully and then give it a firm push. You're going to use 4 M3x12mm bolts to hold these two together. The belt holding clips can now be attached to the new part using some M3x12mm bolts. Since we really don't want this part moving, I decided to do so with thread locker. On the first side you attach, don't insert the bolts the whole way, just enough to get a few turns of thread engaged. We can then repeat this process on the other side. This part is a little bit fiddly, but again, entirely doable. Once the threads are engaged for all 4 bolts, we can torque the bolts up the whole way. Apart from the loose belts, hopefully everything else is feeling rock solid. It's also a good idea to move the shuttle as far as it goes on each side to make sure our little wing is colliding with the blue injection molded part and no fouling of the pulleys and belts occurs. We can now tension up the belts, doing the reverse of our previous loosening process, and that should be our tool changing assembly mechanism complete. You should now be able to get any of your tool heads and firmly lock them into position on the shuttle. At this point, I chose to wire up all of the tool heads once more, which is simply a matter of plugging in a single cable into the bird's nest and then installing some protective sheathing around the cable and the guide piano wire. Although I was only doing this with manual movements from clipper screen, I thought it was important that I test the coupling and decoupling of the mechanism, moving it forward and then down to make the dock hold the tool and free the shuttle from the backside before moving the shuttle away clear of the tool. And then of course I did all of that in reverse to pick up the tool once more. A quick update on our running total, and we're looking really good. The only thing missing here is PTFE tubes. As you can see, it's possible to convert this printer into a 5 or 6 tool changer for less than the price of the Prusa XL with a single tool configuration. But I don't think these two are in direct competition. While even the assembled version of the XL that I purchased still has a surprising amount of assembly and calibration to complete, it's still a lot closer to a product than it is a project, and the opposite is true of this SV08 build. Yes, there is a fair amount of work here, but the point is that tool changes are a lot more affordable because of options like this and the others that I've showcased. From this point forward, almost everything is software and firmware. The centerpiece is the Clipper Tool Changer plugin that will teach Clipper what it is to be a tool changer, keep track of the current tool, handle all of the tool positions and changing macros, and no doubt much more. It's likely going to take a bit of time to get my head around all of that, but when the next installment comes, it's likely that we'll be starting to print with more than one tool. Thanks again to the DraftShift team. It's been a real pleasure collaborating with them. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy tool changer to 3D printing. G'day, it's Michael again. If you like the video, then please click like. If you want to see more content like this in future, click subscribe and make sure you click on the bell to receive every notification. If you really want to support the channel and see exclusive content, become a patron. Visit my Patreon page. See you next time.